Hey everybody, Tom here, and today I want to teach you how to play Tzolk'in, the Mayan calendar. This is a game that I've been aware of for several years. It actually came out, I don't know, I'm making up it came out several years ago. And I was interested in it, but just never really pulled the trigger because as I watched a bunch of short videos about the game, I always got a little bit overwhelmed, and so I kind of avoided it. But I've been in the hobby long enough now that I think that it's time. Well, I decided it was time for me to try it again. This designer is the same one that designed Teotihuacan that I recently recorded. So this game kind of came back on my radar, and I decided to go pick it up and give it a shot. And it's cool enough, and it was voted on Twitter that I decided I'm going to go ahead and record this game. So as we're looking at this big board here. Well, let me point out just a couple of things. First of all, you're going to see some little boxes holding some of these components that I've created. If you're interested in seeing more about that, go ahead and check out the setup video that I recorded for this game, or in the link or in the description of this video, there's a link for a Board Game Crafts website that I've created where you can learn more about that stuff. But the other thing that we're going to see, obviously the most eye-catching thing, is this whole gear system going on here, and this is going to be what drives the game. And so we're gonna look at that closer here in just a second. But I just wanted to kind of say, so Tzolk'in has stuck around for long enough that I decided it was time to try. It's very popular in its ratings on BoardGameGeek.com and all of that stuff. But yeah, anyway, I'm really excited that I finally got this game to the table and to share it with you guys. And I'm going to do my very best to teach you how to play this game, to make it feel like it's simple and approachable, because I do think that it is once you get over a couple of the quirks. But I will also just take this minute to say that this video will not be a strategy guide. This game is still very new to me. I'm still learning a lot about how to make the best of my choices and all of that stuff. So this is not a strategy guide. This is just how to play the game correctly kind of a thing. But yes. With that said, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit closer to this gear system to discuss what we're doing in this game. So in this game, what we're trying to do is we're trying to have the most points by the end of the game. Each round of the game, this gear is going to turn one slot right here, one part of a turn. And so the game is going to end once this big gear has done a full revolution all the way around. That'll be the end of the game. The person with the most points is the winner. There are going to be three main ways to get points in this game. And kind of the easiest one to understand is, so you see this teal sticker over here. This is like halfway through the game. Once that teal sticker gets over to the arrow that we were looking at before, we're going to do a mid-game scoring session because we're halfway through the game. And kind of the easiest way to understand points is we're going to be moving our discs up these temple tracks. And once this teal sticker hits that arrow over there, we're going to be scoring points. So these squares here are points. Not only are we going to score points for where our disc is on these temple tracks, but you can kind of see up here, we're going to score points for being the highest up on the track. So this first number, if we're the highest up on the track, midway through the game, we'll get 6 points. If we're highest on the track here, we'll get 2 points. And if we're highest on the track over here, we'll get 4 points mid-game. And then we're going to do another half revolution of this big gear here, and the teal sticker will end up on that arrow, the one that it is now. That'll be the end of the game. And if we're highest on this track at the end of the game, that's 2 points. Highest on this track, 6. Highest over here, 4. And like I said, we'll also score the points next to our disc. So I guess what I want to say is, as this big gear is turning, we're going to really try to get up these temple tracks as best as possible. And just to emphasize what I just said, so we're going to turn this gear, wrong way. We're going to turn this gear this way, and we'll check for points once this sticker is in place on the temple stuff. So keep an eye out for those teal stickers, okay? So one way that we'll score is on those temple things there. There are also these monuments that we can collect during the game. So there's just these 4 monuments randomly chosen from a stack during setup. And so if we can gain these monuments, there are other ways to get points. Like this means each wood harvest token we have, we'll talk more about that later, is 4 points at the end of the game. Or this is like our different levels. Depending on where we reach our levels, that's going to be points at the end of the game on the technology track. So technology track points over here. This will be points for scoring your way up the temple, stuff like that. So if we can acquire these monuments, that's going to be ways to get points. And there will also be this gear thing kind of happening during the game. Basically, if we can get a worker on one of these spokes and put a crystal skull here, this means I would get 8 points during the game and climb up a temple, but we'll talk more about that later. But essentially, 3 ways to get points. During the game, you can place a skull on one of these spots to gain points from that. During the game, you'll acquire these monuments, and at the end of the game, we'll see how many points they give us. And then mid-game and at the end of the game, we're going to score points depending on where our discs end up on these temples. So those are going to kind of be the big things that we're working towards. And there are kind of 5 resources that will help us get there during the game. So during the game, we're going to be collecting wood, stone, gold, and crystal skulls that I've kind of briefly mentioned. These are some resources that we're going to collect. And you can kind of see up here the cost of these are in, wood, stone, and gold. So I had mentioned that before. In order to pick up these, we're going to need to have those kinds of resources. And in order to get these, we're going to need crystal skulls ready to go. So, hopefully I'm not going too fast or too crazy, but essentially we're going to try to pick up those resources in order to score points the way that I've mentioned. And right here in the center this is corn, and this is basically these corns are 5 corns each, and these are 1. And basically corn is a resource that's going to help our workers. Whenever we send our workers out, we're going to be spending corn to do so. And so corn is going to fuel the workers that will help us get the resources that will ultimately help us get the points. And so we'll talk about exactly what a turn looks like in just a minute, but at the beginning of the game, during setup, each player is going to get these 4 starting wealth tokens. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at these 4 starting wealth tokens. I'm going to use them to kind of describe some of the iconography you're going to see during the game. But basically, we're going to choose 2 of these to keep, and we're going to gain the benefits from those things. And that'll be how we start the game. We're going to start the game with some of the resources. So for example, what this means here is that we could start the game with 4 corn, 1 wood, and we could actually start advanced 1 space on the technology track. That particular starting tile was pointing to this second row. So if I choose that tile, I could, as the blue player, move my disc this way. And essentially, this is going to help me gain more wood or more stone or more gold as the game goes on. So if I choose that starting tile, it's going to help me advance on this technology track, which will ultimately help me get, more resources. Or we could pick from this tile. This tile says we would start with 3 corn, 2 wood, and 1 stone, and nothing else. If I choose this tile, I get to start with 2 corn, 2 wood, and I would get to advance 1 up the green temple track. And as I mentioned before, that would be a super awesome thing to do because halfway through the game, we're going to check where this disc is in relation to these numbers here and score points accordingly. And if we're the highest up this track, then we'll get 4 points mid-game or 4 points at the end of the game if we're still the farthest one along that track. Or I could pick this starting tile, which would give me 3 corn, advance once up the sun track, and advance once on the top row of the technology track. Now, you might be noticing all these red X's here. That just means you could advance up the track and you don't have to pay the cost to do so as you would later on in the game. So advancing up the yellow track would, put us here, and we've already described that. Advancing up the top row of the technology track is going to help us get corn, and corn is what fuels all of the workers. You really need corn to kind of pay for your actions. That's a rare thing to get, so having the ability to get more corn anytime is very useful. And so when thinking about which tiles to start off with, it really is kind of a tough call. I think I'm not overly interested in this just because I know how important it is to move up those temple tracks and advance over here. And it is good to have starting resources, but if I could start myself with the ability, it's like a teach a man to fish thing. If I could start by teaching myself some technology, that would be even better. And so, it's just kind of an issue of, I'm going to definitely move up the yellow track and the technology. Do I also move up the green temple track, or do I also advance on that resource track? Well, like I said, I know that corn is really hard to come by, so I think I'm going to go ahead and keep this one like that. So let me go ahead, before we get started and talking about what we do on a turn, let me just gather these resources and advance these things, and then we'll go from there. So I'll just grab 7 corn to start out, 1 wood from this little box, move up once on the yellow track, and we'll move ourselves up once each on each of these technology tracks that we will discuss a little bit later. But like I said, don't feel stressed or confused by now. I'm just trying to show you, kind of introduce you to what these different icons represent and why they might be important. To say, here's our starting stuff and why we're starting with these things, and all of that stuff, and we'll understand why those things are important and how to use them very shortly. So in keeping with that theme of we're learning and growing, let's take a look here. Okay, so we could get 8 corn and a gold. 8 corn, I'm telling you, corn is tough, so having a lot is good. We could get 5 corn and a stone, or advance once up the brown track and advance once up the brown temple track. We could get 5 corn and a stone and advance once on the bottom row of the technology the technology tracks, sorry. Or we could get 4 corn, a wood, and a crystal skull. So I briefly mentioned having a crystal skull is going to be good because it can help us lay down here and get some points. Advancing on the blue track is going to also help us with that blue gear and help us with crystal skull. So maybe that would be a good strategy for the red player to work on, is to just maybe focusing less on the temple stuff necessarily and working more on the blue gear. I mean, that's certainly an option. But I also really love the idea of getting 8 corn to start out. So maybe what we'll do is, I just want to start out with as much corn as possible. What if we started out like this? Because this can help us get closer to the crystal skull. Like, we can create a system where we're getting a bunch of crystal skulls. Yeah, but also advancing up the brown track early is a great idea, because if you're the farthest up on the track in the first half of the game, you get 6 points. Only 2 points if you're the highest one up at the end of the game for the brown track. Ugh, that's tempting too. But I think for this video, if I try to focus on that blue gear with the red player, that'll be confusing for my brain. At least that's a different strategy to aim towards. So why don't we go ahead and stick with this. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up 13 corn to start out with. That'll really feel good, I promise. 1 stone and 1 gold. And I just noticed I forgot to reset the blue player after our just talk through example. But then we were going to also have the red player advance 1 on this technology track and try to keep that in mind. Okay, let's bring these back, and we'll have those on hand for whatever our needs are. So with a very general overview done, let's just talk about a basic turn structure. This token here is the first player token, and that could get passed around from round to round. Get it? That was tough to say. But basically, on your turn, you need to choose one of 2 options. Option number 1 is you can place as many of your workers as you want to on the gears on the board. Or option number 2 is you could pick up as many workers as you want to from the gears or the board. But you have to do one of those 2 things. You can't pass or anything like that. You've always got to either place workers or remove workers, and that will be the end of your turn. How many workers you place and take off will be totally up to you. But as per usual, I mean, there's going to be a cost to placing a lot of workers at the same time. So obviously, we don't have any workers on the board right now to remove from the board. So for each of our first turns, we're going to have to place workers. So let's talk about that for a second. As you place your workers on the board, you can kind of see, I think you can see it okay. You can see these circles around these 5 gears. Placing a worker won't do anything exciting. The only thing that's going to happen when you place a worker is you're going to have to pay corn in order to put your workers down. And then your workers will be working until, on a different turn, you remove your workers. And so what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to decide, where do I want to place my workers with these 5 gears? And we'll get more specific in just a second, but just a brief overview. Placing your worker on this green gear is a way to pick up corn and to pick up wood. Placing your worker on this tan gear is a way to pick up wood, or stone and corn, or golden corn, or a crystal skull. Like, this is a way to get resources. Placing a worker over here, again, you just pay the corn when you place the worker, but then you'll get the benefits when you remove them. So maybe I said that confusingly. We'll place the workers, pay corn, and then when we remove the workers, you'll get corn or wood, get a resource. Over here, you can advance on the technology track, or you could pick up buildings, or maybe a monument. So monuments are the big end game scoring things I was talking about. Buildings are just going to give you a special ability or a special benefit to help you along the way. And by removing workers from this board, so as I mentioned, you could move up on your technology, you could pick up buildings, you might even be able to advance on the temple if you remove from this spot over here. You can't see all of the yellow gear down here, but essentially down here you can kind of use corn as a resource to do different things. You can use corn to advance up the temple tracks. You could use corn to exchange them for different resources. It's right off there, but you can pick up additional workers. We start out with 3, but there are 3 more available, and so on. So yellow is a way to kind of utilize your corn or get more workers. And then, as I pointed out, this blue gear is a different way to get points, assuming you have crystal skulls. So as I mentioned before, there's a cost. I could choose to put just 1 worker on the gears right now, or 2 or 3. And there will be a cost in corn depending on where I place those workers. I'll get more specific in a second, but basically as you put your worker down, that's going to cost some corn, either 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on where the worker ends up. But there's also a cost for placing multiple workers at the same time. So if you just place the 1 worker, you don't have to spend any extra corn. If you place 2 workers, that's going to cost you 1 corn. If you place 3 workers, that's going to cost you 3 corns. And as you gain more workers, if you want to place them all at the same time, you can, but you've got to have the corn to pay for it. So if you're still a little confused, don't stress. The point is, the blue player has to place some workers to get some corn. I just need to decide, where do I want to place any workers and how many. So let's start thinking long-term strategy for the blue player. I think I'd really like the blue player to focus on advancing up these tracks, where the red player was going to kind of focus on the blue gear. They'll both probably do some of each, but that'll be the blue player's main focus. So one of the ways in order to move up the temple tracks would be to have a resource, and then you can move up 2 different temple tracks. So the red gear is of interest to me. Another way would be to pick up this tile or this tile. So these would help you advance up the tracks, and that would require a wood and stone. So maybe something I want to think about is getting some more wood and also some stone. And that also ties into this red track, because that's how I would pick those things up, is by being able to take these actions to buy those buildings. So I actually think that what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go a little big here. Maybe. Am I? I want to go kind of big. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm planning on using 2 workers. So I'll track this in just a second, but that means I'm going to have to spend 1 corn for sending out 2 workers on this turn. Now, when you send out workers, you always have to place them on the lowest cost number space. Now, it's easy to forget how much corn you need to spend, so my recommendation whenever I do this is I always place the workers outside of the gear until I spend the corn, and then I'll just put them on top. So, for example, I'm going to send this worker here. I have to put him on the lowest available gear. That would be 0. And I'm going to send him here so that I can hopefully come over here and get some wood. So you can see, if I can get this worker up to this spot, I could get 2 wood. If I wait a little bit longer, I could get 3 wood. If I wait a little bit longer, I could get 4 wood. So I'm going to send this worker here. It's going to cost 0 corn to place this worker on this spot. You have to put them on the lowest number one. But I also want to get ready to pick up some stone, I think. Do you know what I should do before I do that? Okay, I just got a different idea. I was going to place a worker here. There's a nice bug right there. I was going to place the worker here with the hopes of getting some stone. But maybe what I should do is set my worker... Well, I can't go here because the green guy's there. I'm going to set a worker here. Oh man, is this going to be... I was thinking I could send a worker here to help advance myself on the technology track whenever I take this action so that I could get more stone than normal, because I'm definitely going to want some extra stone. So this game is kind of a big puzzle about timing, and if you don't understand why that is yet, don't worry. As of right now, all I want you to care about is the idea of placing your workers and having to pay corn. We'll get the rest in a second. I'm just kind of talking out my strategy out loud, which might be a bad plan. But okay, knowing how the timing is going to work, I don't want this worker here just yet, because this gear is going to turn, and that will move me off of this spot, which I don't necessarily want. Or maybe I do. We're going to do it. Okay, I'm going to put this worker here. That's going to end up costing me a corn in just a second. But as I was having a hard time deciding, I've decided I'm also going to place my third... No, I'm not going to place my third worker. The reason I'm not placing my third worker is this. What's going to happen is after each player has taken a turn, the gear's going to move. And then I'm going to have to take another turn. If I place all 3 workers, the only thing I can do next turn is I have to pull workers off of the board. And I won't want to pull them off of the board yet because the gears wouldn't have moved far enough for me. So I'm not going to put this worker here. I am going to put this worker up on this gear. This is not a strategy guide. Don't stress. Just focus on placing workers and paying corn. So to focus on that, this worker costs 0 corn to go on this spot. This worker costs 0 corn to go on that spot. But because I'm playing 2 workers, I need to pay 1 corn altogether. So I'm paying the corn, and then I'm going to go ahead to finish that by putting my workers on the gears. Again, that's just the best way that I've found to track this, because with all of that thinking back and forth and puzzling, it's easy to forget how many workers you placed and where you placed them and how much corn you need to pay. Next up, the red player. Okay, we're just focusing on placing workers and figuring out how much corn to pay for now. My ultimate goal for the red player is to get them moving along this track so that I can get more points. So that's a good thing to think about. And it's also good to think about the fact that I'm going to need a crystal skull in order to utilize that blue track. So I probably want to think about getting a worker over here. So my plan for the red player is, let's set them up for those kinds of successes, I think. I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 workers. I'm going to put one here. I'll put it on the outside for now, right? Okay, put one here and one here. The lowest available number is 1. So this worker, I have to pay 1 corn for him or her, I don't know, but 0 corns for that one. But since I played 2 workers, I do need to pay an additional corn. So 1 for the first worker and then 1 for playing 2 workers all together. So I need to go pay these 2 corns. And once I pay them, I'm going to just go ahead and bump them onto their spots. Then, once all of the players have gone, we're going to turn this gear. Now, there's a spot that I didn't talk about. It's the pick up a first player mark. Like, you can pick up the first player token by going to this spot. It's a little bit tricky. I want to talk about that in a minute, but that is an open spot that's available. It's right here. But nobody picked that up, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and turn the gear 1 space. Now, it's a little tough to see, but there is like a count down here that's going to help us. So I'm going to turn this 1 space counterclockwise. And since nobody picked up the first player marker, we're going to lay 1 corn on the new spoke. I think some people put it up here. I like to put it down here. It's just a little bit more secure. So basically, this is going to be a spot that, as long as people aren't taking it, it's going to accumulate corn until somebody finally does take this spot and picks up a whole bunch of corn. But nobody took the first player marker, so blue's going to go now. And now that they do have some workers on the board, I've got choices. Do I place my last worker on the board, or do I pick up workers from the board? If I were to pick up this worker from the board, then I would get this reward on the outer ring over here. So if I were to pick up this worker right now, I would gain 3 corn. If I were to pick up this worker now, I would get 1 wood. I could pick up one of those workers. I could pick up both of them. I'm not paying corn to pick up the workers. You only pay the corn to put the workers down. So if I wanted to right now, I could get 3 corn and a wood, or 3 corn or a wood. You know what I'm saying. Or I could place my last worker and that would be it. So I actually think part of why I changed my mind halfway through that last confusing turn is I decided I actually want to play this guy now, and I'm going to put him on this spot. That's the lowest possible number. It's going to cost 0 corn, and if you are only playing 1 worker on your turn, you don't have to pay any corn as a part of this cost, you know, because there's the 2 different costs of corn. So I actually don't have to pay any corn this turn, so I'm just going to go ahead and put him onto the gear. Now, sorry, I started this video assuming that you had watched my setup video, but there's a good chance you didn't. If you're playing a 2 or 3 player game, there are kind of some dummy discs placed on here. I explained that more in the setup video. So you've seen these yellow and green discs. That's just for the 2-player setup. That's a way to block some of the spots. So if you've seen those and wondered what they are, sorry I didn't explain them earlier, but those are just a part of setup to help block some of the spots that wouldn't happen in, you know, a 2 or 3 player game. So that didn't make a lot of sense. Just don't freak out. There are green and yellow discs. They are there, part of setup. Let's keep going. Now I'm kind of in a similar conundrum with the red player. Do I pick up my workers? Picking up this worker won't do anything for me because I don't have a crystal skull to place here to take this action. And just to review that iconography, this action means move up the brown track and score 4 points. But I also don't really want to pick up this worker because I'm not to the crystal skull just yet. I could place the worker here. In my brain, I was thinking, man, that would be sweet. If this place was occupied, I could pay 3 corn to put a worker here. That would be the lowest number. But I don't really think I want to put a worker so far down here. But if you take a look at this gear, look, the 0 and the 1 are occupied, so I could pay 2 corn to get my worker over there. I like that idea a lot, I think. So I am going to place just 1 worker, so 0 corn for that. I'm putting them on this spot, which is the lowest number available. It'll cost 2 corn. So let's go make some change. Remember, don't make change with the stuff over here. So that's kind of part of why I like the boxes. It helps keep that clear. So I need 3 corn back. And I don't have any extra workers to put on this first player token thing, so that's really the end of it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my person up there. And now each player has had a turn, so we're going to go ahead and turn this gear counterclockwise. There are arrows here to remind you. And so we turn that counterclockwise. Nobody took the first player marker, so I'm going to add a corn onto that spot right there. So if and when someone chooses to claim that, they'll get 2 corns for it. But you can see that everybody's advanced a little bit along that, along those wheels. So the blue player goes first again. They don't have any workers to put out, so we have to retrieve at least 1 worker. I could pick up more if I want to. Let's talk about the options, and the order you pick them up will definitely matter. So here's my thought. Picking up this guy would mean I would get 4 corn plus, oh, you can't see it, plus 1 more corn because of this technology. This means that when you pick up your corn from a green space, you get an additional corn. So I could pick up from here. That would get me 5 corn. Certainly not a bad thing, but remember my goal was I was trying to get some more wood. So I'd like to wait at least 1 more turn so that I can advance this worker over here. If I pick up this worker now, I'm going to gain a stone and a corn. Now this corn is from a brown space, so it doesn't really follow the same rule as the green space ones. And I mean in terms of the technology we just talked about. So this would get me a stone and a corn. Or I could pick up this worker picking up this worker, I could advance 1 on any of the technology tracks as long as I can pay my way to do that. Advancing on the technology track is going to require some, man, I didn't think this through. It's going to require some resources. Again, not a strategy guide. So if I advance over here, I need to pay 2 cubes of resource. So that would be wood, stone, or gold. In my brain, I was thinking I would be such a genius by advancing over here so that I could pick up one more stone, but I don't have the resources to pay for that. Dang it. But I do have to pull at least one. So what I think I'm going to do is it's going to make the most sense to me to pull this guy off to gain a stone and a corn. And then maybe I can come replace him here, and a couple turns later, I'll be able to advance twice on the technology track, and I'll have resources to spend, but I won't have that many resources. This puzzle. This is so hard for my brain, but it is a fun puzzle. It is a puzzle. But at some point I just have to make a decision so that I don't bore everybody to death, and that decision will be made now. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this guy, and that will let me get a corn. Oh, come on. Okay, that'll let me get a corn and a stone, and I need to do some more foresight to my life's choices. Okay, that was the blue's turn. Red doesn't have any workers, so I also have to pick them up. Or I have to pick up at least one of them. I don't want to pick this guy up because I don't have my crystal skull to get the advantage down here. If I pick this guy up, I could... We'll talk about this. It's kind of, you can either get 5 corn or 2 wood. I'll talk more in just a second. Or picking up this one would get me a gold and 2 corns. Well, I want to wait one more turn so that this thing ends up on the crystal skull. So probably a good idea would be to pick up this person here, and that will allow me to talk about this green track a little bit. But I'll add really quickly, let's say that I've passed the reward that I want. Sometimes you have to place, it's a whole thing. If you want earlier rewards, let's say that I go to pick up this guy, but I don't want this reward, but I want something earlier. You can, but you need to pay 1 corn for each step back that you take. So if I were to pick up this guy to get wood, I would need to pay 2 corns because he had overstepped. But that's not what I'll do. I'm going to pick up this guy because it's going to allow me to explain something important over here. Something that's tough to see from overhead is that there is a corn underneath these wood pieces over here. And the idea is that there's a forest. You would need to clear out the forest before you could plant corn and grow corn. And so if I am on this spot and I'm going to take either corn or wood, there's only wood visible, so you'd have to take the wood. Unless, if you wanted to anger the gods, you could take corn by burning the forest. So you could just discard the wood token in order to take the corn token, but that's going to anger the gods. And you would have to move yourself down 1 step on these temples. So that's kind of why there are these negative steps over here. I think I don't want to anger any gods right now. So let's just keep it nice and simple. I'm going to remove this worker. And by doing so, I'm going to remove one of the visible tokens, so the wood one. And that's going to get me 2 wood cubes. So we'll just take these back. All right. So this wood token is mostly here for scoring opportunities, kind of like one that I actually showed you earlier. Like, it won't really do anything for me unless I were to pick up this monument, and then at the end of the game, each of those tokens is worth 4 points. So not a bad idea to keep my eye on that. But as it is, I don't want to pull any other workers, so that'll be the end of the red player's turn. And that means it's time to advance the gear again. We're going to have 4 more rounds before we're going to need to feed our workers. Each worker is going to need to be fed 2 corn, or else you're going to lose some victory points. So we're just going to advance it that way and put some corn here. And I just want to keep in mind that we're about halfway to our first feeding session. I want to make sure that I have enough corn to feed my workers as time goes on. But for now, I put this corn here because nobody took this action once again. So blue's going first. And again, I have this whole grand scheme in my brain of how things are going to maybe work for me, but it's going to require, of course, some resources. And I think what I want to do is to utilize some of this corn that I have left over. So I'm going to place workers again. And the workers I'm going to place, I'm only placing 1, so that's not going to cost me any extra corn. But I'm going to go ahead and place this guy on the lowest available number, which is here. So I'm going to put it there until I actually pay my corn. Oh, sorry. I'm going to pay my corn, But my goal is I want to get over to this spot so that I can exchange corn for resources, and here's the exchange rate over here. Maybe I could spend some of that corn that I have to just grab some cheap resources to help me move on the technology track, to help me have more powerful actions. It's ambitious, but that's what we're going to do. So here, let me just pop this up here now. Spend the 1 corn, and that was the blue player's turn. So the red player could place their worker or grab from the tracks. I'm going to go ahead and pick up from the tracks because this worker is right where I want them to be. So I'm picking up this worker, and that's going to earn me a crystal skull. And I'm now going to, now that I have the skull, I'm going to come down here to pick up this worker. Now I've got a tough choice to make. Well, here's why I have a tough choice to make. Don't forget that I'm right here on this technology track. What this icon means is when I take this action that I'm about to do, I could do it 1 step ahead of where I am. So do I place this here and get 6 points and move 1 up the brown track? Or do I put it here and get 7 points and move 1 up the green track? Well, the choice is not so easy to decide. Moving up the green track is great because it puts me here. And so I'm ahead of blue, which is cool, but that's 4 points halfway through the game if I'm higher up, and only 1 point on the side. But moving up the brown track would be 2 points on the side and 6 points if I'm the highest up here at the midway through the game. So it kind of is a tough choice. But I think I'm going to stick with the spot that I'm on. And so here's my other worker. So I'm going to remove this worker. I'll get 6 points. So it's right here. 6 points and move 1 up the brown track, which I've already done. And I can bring these guys back. So are you starting to get the hang of it? You place workers and pay corn for that. And then when you're ready, you pull the workers back and take the action associated with where they are. So the longer a worker sits on a gear, the more powerful their actions are going to become. But navigating and trying to puzzle out when to pull your workers, that's the real trick. It's all about timing there. But with all of that said, once again, nobody took this. So, well, whether they took it or not, we're going to spin this. Nobody took the first player marker. So this is starting to look tempting, especially to the red player. Now, the blue player could claim this spot if they had a worker, which they don't. But if the person who has the first player marker claims this spot, they still pass the first player marker. If this spot is ever claimed, the first player marker has to move. And so it's kind of like the red player's thinking, well, obviously probably good to claim it, get the corn, because the blue player could claim this. They can't right now because they don't have any workers available. But if the blue worker plays this, they get the corn and I still get the first player marker. Let's talk more about that in a second. It's the blue player's turn. They don't have any workers available to place, and so it's time to pick up some workers. And I'm going to do this in a very specific order. I want to advance twice on this track. The big question is, where do I advance and where would I advance? You can move either 1 disc twice, or you can move 2 discs once. You get to decide. I think what I would like to do is, knowing that my goal is to come pick up some of these tiles down here, I think I'd like to advance on this track, which will cost a resource, and on this track, which will cost 2 resources. So I'm going to want 3 resources altogether. And this is kind of risky, so close to feeding time, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to pick up this thing here, and I'm going to turn in 6 corn to pick up 3 wood. And then I'm going to spend that 3 wood to pick up this guy here to advance twice. So I'm going to advance here so that I can get a corn when I go pick up one of these cards, or these tiles. And I'm going to advance here so that I can gain extra stone when it's time to get more stone. Or, I was going to say I could pick up this worker. Maybe I should do that I'm going to do that instead of getting my corn. I'm having a hard time wrapping around my head around my words and what I want the blue player to do. Hold on, I'm going to put this one back. Yeah, I'm putting this one back. Here's why. Instead of spending all of my corn, I'm going to go ahead and pick up this worker first. Okay, so the other one's not picked up here. We'll put it here. There. Okay, here's what we're doing. Picking this worker up first. to get 3 wood and this tile. So we'll get 3 wood plus 1 wood for picking up wood on, when you're wherever your disc is, you get all of the things behind it as well. It's cumulative. So I'm going to get an extra wood because I have this technology and I did it on a green space. So I'm getting 4 wood, but as I already talked about, I'm going to spend 3 of those wood. So I'm going to just pick up this one. Technically these things were here, right? Then I pick up this worker, spend the 3 wood to move these 2 discs. Wow, I could not have done that more confusingly. Picked up the 4 wood, then I spent the 3 wood to move those 2 discs upward. And I think I want to leave this thing here because there's some good stuff that could come up. I could get a new worker. When I build a building, or I could build a building and instead of resources, I would just use corn, is what this thing is saying here. And then, or this one, I could get corn from any of the spaces. I could get corn from those other spaces. There's good stuff coming up over here. So I'm thinking terribly about the blue player, and I apologize for that. But yeah, anyway, let's go put these back. I feel really badly and embarrassed about that last turn. So I'm going to do some extra, I got to do some thinking before I start their turn. Sorry, lesson learned. But I'm choosing to not re-record that because I want you to think of the type of thinking your brain goes through as you play this game. It is a puzzle. I really like what the red player had done. I'd kind of like to repeat that as much as possible. So what I'd like them to do is I want them to work on getting a crystal skull. I want them to get back on the blue track, and then I'm going to go claim the first player token. So let's go set these 3 things out. And I'm going to need to remember that I need to spend 3 corn for sending 3 people. I'm starting at the 0, so no cost for placing that one. This has a cost of 0, so I'm putting that there. And then up here, it's also a cost of 0. So I just need to pay the 3 corn for having put out 3 workers. Again, that's just me following this chart right here. So 3 corn, let's just go ahead and get that paid. Put my workers on their spots. Oops. That's already on the spot. And then this stuff happens when we turn the gear. So the gear turns. I'm not putting a new corn down. I'm giving the red player these corns, and they get their worker back, and they get the first player marker. Now there's one more power that they have that each player has once per game. So I guess technically they would turn the gear now. And the reason I say that is they have an option. They could flip their player board in order to turn the gear twice instead of just once. So if you really wanted to advance yourself for whatever reason, you could flip your board to turn it twice, but once you flipped your board, you can't do that anymore. So just to recap the first player thing. The person who puts their cylinder here gets the first player marker. They get any corn that's accumulated here. And if they want to, we could have advanced this 1 extra time to kind of further our cause. There is a caveat there, which is when these player discs, like, what's a good example that I won't forget? So let's pretend for a second that the, how do I put this? Okay, let's pretend like the blue player had a disc here. Naturally, in 2 rounds, 1, 2, if the blue player doesn't pick up this disc, it's going to fall off. Okay, let me go back 1, 2. Now, you can't, as the first player chooser, you can't advance this if it will boot somebody off who wasn't already going to fall off. So, for example, if the blue player's here and the red player were to take this thing again, well, the thing is going to move once naturally. That doesn't bump off the blue player. But if the red player had decided to move it a second time, it would bump the blue player. That's not allowed. Essentially, everybody should know exactly if they're going to be booted before it happens. It can't be a surprise. I don't know if that made a lot of sense. It is a little convoluted and confusing, but I'll make sure to repeat it at some point when you don't want to kill me for this complicated video already. But either way, we have our red player worker, and I need to decide if I'm placing that worker, probably, or doing something else. Well, as I'm thinking about what I want the red player to do, let's quickly talk about these buildings. So as I mentioned, we're going to have a feeding phase soon in like 2 rounds, and we need to pay 2 corn per worker. So let's talk about these really fast. These are obvious. You would move up the brown and green temples. You'd move up the brown and yellow temples. These you would advance on the technology tracks without having to pay. Or what this one is you can feed all of your workers 1 corn if you own this tile. So you'd only have to pay 1 corn per worker that's out if you own this tile. And this one means that you could pay 1 worker both of the corns needed at feeding time. And so I'm kind of looking at what I have. I mean, I do have a bunch of corn now, but it would be really nice if I could not have to spend that corn. Like, I'd like to save that corn for my actions and not really spend it on my workers. So to do that, I would need 4 wood to get the one that's like you only have to pay 1 corn per worker, you know? To get that, I would need 4 wood. I've only got these 2. Feeding is in 2 rounds, so is there a good way for me to make sure that I can get that tile? Well, some things I'm thinking about are I could pull this worker to get 1 wood, but that's not the 2 that I need. I could place a worker here, but it's going to take some time before I can get up to 2 wood, and not only that, it's going to take me time to buy that technology. So maybe I just need to accept the fact that I probably can't get this one right now, but I could get this one, which is, you know, it's not bad by any means. It's good. It's not as good as this one, but that's why that's more expensive. So in order for me to get that building, that's called a building, I'm going to take this worker and I'm going to put it right here. The lowest available number is the 1, so I need to pay 1 corn and plus 0 corn because I'm only placing the 1 worker. So let me go ahead and pay the 1 corn, and I had already put him up on his gear, so there it is. Now, as tempting as it is for the blue player to pick up this worker and have an extra worker, that's just going to be an extra mouth to feed in 2 rounds. And as it is, I'm going to need 6 corn in order to pay for the 3 workers that I do have. So probably not the best plan to be getting an extra worker right this second. But there is a way to kind of be risky and to spend some corn with the plan of getting a bunch of corn. Is that smart? No, that might be dumb. But we're going to do it anyway. Okay, so I'm placing 2 workers. That's going to end up costing me 1. I'll remember that in a minute. And I'm going to put 1 worker here, the lowest possible number, it's a 1. And over here, lowest possible number is a 3. So 4 corn for these, plus 1 corn for having placed 2 workers this turn, so I need to pay 5 corn. Remember how I was just talking about not spending too much corn? But as this wheel turns, it's going to put me in a good position to pick up... Oh, where am I? Here. Oops, I just bumped that. That'll help me get 11 corn plus green spot, so I'd get 1 more corn for each of these spaces. So, you know, I'm going to get 13 corn soon. So that's kind of my thought. I just paid my corn deposit, so let's go there. And while we're here, both players have taken their turn. Nobody picked up that marker. This turns once. We put 1 corn on here because no one had picked up this thing. And we're getting close to feeding time, so we're going to do this turn, and then we will do this turn, and at the end of this turn, we're going to need to feed everybody. So the red player is going to start us off. I think all I want to do for the red player is pick up this worker to perform this action, and that means I get to buy any one of these. I already talked about how I want to buy this one. So come feeding day, one of my workers is already fed. That's going to cost me a wood. I still have the worker in my hand, but we are going to slide these down and reveal a new monument. Oh man, I swear I shuffled those. Okay, cool. So we have that. Let's bring this. Well, yeah, I don't think I want to pick up any other workers. I don't have a crystal skull to pick up this one, and I'm waiting for this one to get to the crystal skull. So yeah, we're good there. So bring this home. That was the red player's turn. And I already talked about what I want the blue player to do. I'm going to have them take, I think I do want to have them take both of these workers back now, unless I really wanted to save one for next time. No, it'll just be 1 extra corn. No, let's just take it back. So I'm getting 4 corn for this, plus 7 is 11. Plus, with this technology, for each of these, I'm getting an extra corn. So 13 altogether. Again, I could have waited one more turn, but that would just be one more corn when I can, send that worker to do more stuff. So we're going to bring these back. I'm going to leave this worker for one more turn, bring these back, and I think this is an okay move. I've been spending more time off camera doing blue thinking than I was doing before. Nobody placed a worker here, so we're just going to turn the gear, put one here, and at the end of this turn, we're going to need to feed our worker. Plus, we're going to kind of gain some resources. I'll talk more about that in just a second, but yes, just accept it for now. The red player doesn't want to pick up their workers this turn. I'm going to get them next turn, because next turn I'll be in a position to pick up that skull and then use that skull as this red one is rotated this way. I could even use my technology to place a skull over here. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. So I think if I could work my way towards getting a bunch of wood, that would really help me with that other feeding tile that I still really want. And so I'm going to send this worker over. Oh, dang it. I was thinking I could put them here, but they'd have to end up way down there. Dang it. Yeah. Is that still the best option for me, maybe? Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. Well, so for example, I could put it on the 0 here. That's an option. Work my way towards getting more wood over there. I could put it on the 1 here and just start preparing myself to gain more skulls. I mean, that's an okay option. I could put the worker down here and start preparing for leveling up my technology or getting more buildings. I could come down this way and, prepare for any of these actions. Or I could place right here and prepare for these. I could place right here to pick up those 2 corn. But then because I already own the first player tile, it would pass to the left. So it would go to the blue player. But I could turn this twice. But I don't want to turn it twice because then I'd skip this skull over there. Dang it. What am I going to do? I think I kind of want to send this guy on here just to get a jump start on this wheel. Like I said, I really would like to get him circled as far as possible. I don't know. I'm kind of making this up. But that'll be it for red. Next up for blue, here's what I want to do. I want to pick up this worker, which means I can pay 1 corn to take any action on any of the non-blue gears. I'm really racking my brain about what to do. I could use it to get a bunch more corn, which is great. I have 2 wood and a stone. So if I used that action to just pick up a building, a single building, pay the 2 wood and stone to do this one, well, that'll let me move up the brown track, which will get me 2 points, and the red and blue player, well, but that's not going to happen till later. The scoring doesn't happen for a little while. But what's going to happen on these brown phases where we feed our people is we're also going to get the resources listed on the side. So that would get me a stone. Okay. And let's see, I said, and yellow, and it would get me a gold. So that's not a bad idea. Or I could advance up this track to really help me keep picking up resources, and I would get a gold if I were to buy that one. Oh, man. I'm having a tough time choosing here, and believe you me, I've edited out a lot of my thinking time. But where ultimately this thing is going to cost 3 resources to upgrade, I think this makes the most sense in the long run. It's going to help me get resources and save me the resources that it would cost to level up. So basically, I'm picking up this worker. I get to spend 1 corn to use any of the actions on the yellow, tan, green, or red tracks. So let's spend this corn. And I'm choosing to use kind of this wussy action to buy the building. I would have loved to be able to afford to buy 2 buildings, but I just don't have the resources now, which is why I want to have better opportunity to get resources. So for now, I'm just going to get the 1 building. This is the one that I'm choosing, so I get to jump up on the 2nd row without paying any resources, and so that's going to put me up here. So now, when I go take tan actions or green action to get wood, all of these things apply. I'm going to get an extra gold or stone or wood, stuff like that. And buying this costs these resources. So we'll put those there. And slide these down and refill. I have little tiny flies all over the place. But now it's the end of that phase. We need to feed our workers. I'm following this part of our player aid. We're going to feed each worker 2 corn. And we're going to look at the temples and gain the resources that are listed on the left-hand side. So let's start by feeding our workers. The red player has 3 workers out. This is going to feed one of them. So I need to pay 4 corn, 2 corn per worker. So we'll just go ahead and pay. Well, let's pay this one. All right. And then we look at our placement on each of the temple tracks, and depending on where our disc is, we're going to get the resource next to it and anything underneath it. That's only for resources. That doesn't happen with points in the next section when we feed people. So the red player is just going to get 1 stone. So the blue player has 3 workers, so they need to pay 6 corn. Didn't I just barely pick up 13 corn? I feel like I only grabbed 8. I think that's true. I'm going to double check. I'm at a good pausing point after this. So I will double check, but I think I pay one of the 5s, but I think that I'm short of 5. So I'm going to bring this back. I'll go check the tapes and then get back to you on that. But notice that the blue player doesn't have any place where they're going to gain additional resources. I would have need to move up 1 more on each of those tracks to qualify to get anything. But that's basically how the feeding thing works. We're going to have another feeding phase with this tan one, only instead of checking for resources on the temples, we're going to check for victory points. So just be aware of that. Nobody claimed the first player marker, so we turn this once and place a corn on it. And then the red player goes, and I'm really embarrassed, by the way. I totally forgot to remove these from setup. So I don't know how long, I mean, I do know how long they've been sitting there, the entirety of the game, but they shouldn't be. Anyway, we don't have any workers, so we need to go pick some up. I definitely want to grab a crystal skull. And then remember, with my technology, I can either place this skull here and get 7 points and move up on the green track, or I can do that 1 farther and get 8 points and move up on the green track. I think I will go ahead and move 1 farther by removing this thing here. I could have just as easily, well, do I want to? I mean, I could pull from here and get 4 points, move up on the brown track. There is a lot of incentive for moving up on the brown track. But, do you know what? I wasn't planning on it until I started talking about it. Maybe I will do this. I want to keep the blue player away from me. And so I'm going to remove this player, get 5 points, and move up on the brown temple track. And then I'll just let that other one keep growing and getting stronger, you know? So we'll put this here. I got my 2 workers. And that'll be the red's turn. And for blue, yes, I did check. I accidentally only grabbed 8 instead of 13 corn that one turn. But whatever I'm doing, I am definitely placing some workers. And the first worker I know that I want to place is, I think I can go for the start player spot. So we'll place here. I'll be picking up that corn later. I know that I'm going to want more stone and wood. My big question is, what's the best way for me to get those things? I feel like I should really be utilizing my technology track. You know, the one that I've crawled up here. So focusing on the gray track is good, but also I do get extra wood on the green. So let's put these guys both on the gray and the green. So we're going here for 0 and here for 0. Not ideal, but I don't know. Well, it really is not ideal, is the main issue here. I could put this guy over here and let this grow. It's not a terrible idea, but no, we'll just stick with it. We'll go 0, 0, 0. But I did place 3 workers, so I am going to need to pay 3 corn. I'm just about to pick up 3 corn here at the end of the round, so rather than like making change and all of that, just do me a favor and acknowledge that's the end of the round, and we are turning the spoke. And as we turn the spoke, well, let's re-talk about that thing that I was confusing about before. So a bunch of things happen here. I'm going to get the first player marker. I get to take this worker back. I get the 3 corn, but remember I just barely spent it secretly. And I could choose to turn this thing... Oh, I need to pop my workers on there. I could choose to turn this thing twice. So nobody's in danger of getting bumped off by going past the last spot. So I do have this option. So let me think about that. If I were to go 1, 2... that could be useful where I am trying to get myself farther up on those tracks. But it's not dire right now. But we are going to be slowed down. Wait, oh, here's my other worker. Yeah. Should I just go 1? No, I think I am going to go 2. I'd really like to get that guy moving up. Red's not really taking advantage. I mean, I guess red is kind of taking advantage down here. But I got to get this guy up on the wood track as best as I can. Yes, okay. I am, for better or worse, strategically, who knows, as I've said 100 times. Yep, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We just used our turn twice action. Again, most people might save that for when all of their workers are out, but I just feel like I got to keep moving ahead. The red player is doing some really good stuff, and so I need to try to match that. So this needs to go over to blue as well. Now there is a way to flip this back this way, and that is if and when you get your token all the way up to the top of the track. There's only one person allowed on the very top space of any of these temple tracks, and by getting up there you are allowed to flip your thing back the other way and continue to have the ability to turn the track twice again. So that is a thing. So that's bringing me back to the blue player. And I think that the only thing I'm going to have the blue player do is, I mean, it might be a good idea to be thinking about, I'll think about this for next turn, but I'm just going to go ahead and pick up this worker. I'm going to get a stone and a corn. So here's a corn. And remember, my technology allows me to get 2 stone. So we'll grab those. And that's because this is cumulative. Remember, you get, if you pick up a stone, you get more stone. If you pick, like on the grade track, if you pick up a wood or a stone or a gold, you get an additional one of that resource. And so that's happening here. Now, if I were to advance again on this track, what this means is that I could spend a resource to advance again, but you don't really put your cube over here, you just stay right here. But if I pay a resource, I could get 2 resources. Or if I were all the way up on this track, I could pay a resource to go up on the temple. Or if I was all the way up on this track, I could pay a resource to get 3 points, and so on. So I really should be thinking about getting the red player to move up to keep those crystal skulls going, rather than waiting all the time. But that's stuff to think about for the red player's turn. We're not there yet. Okay, now we're here. So how do I get that crystal skull? Do I keep going on that gray track? Or do I try my best to advance in other ways? Well, none of these are going to let me advance in those ways. I really would just love to get up this way. So I guess my focus should kind of be on getting resources and especially climbing up here. So seems like a good thing to do. I'd love to get up to this thing and have enough resources at the same time. So I think what we will do is we're going to place these 2 workers. And I think the timing should work out well. If I go 0 and, oh, I can't go 0 because the green's there, and 1, then this is going to be 2 spaces away to get here and 2 spaces away to get here, where I can exchange resources for corn or vice versa. I'm going to turn in some corn and just get some cheap resources. I don't want to use my stone and my corn if I don't have to, you know? And so that's going to be 1 corn for that placement, and an additional corn, so I'm left with 3. An additional corn because I'm placing 2 workers. And I guess I should say, it is worth noting that you can exchange things back and forth. Like, I have some gold and some stone. If I really wanted to downgrade to have a whole bunch of wood, that is going to be an option as I do my exchanges. Like, I could turn in a gold for 4 corn and then use the 4 corn to turn it into 2 wood. So that exchange is possible all around while taking this action. But now that I've paid my corn, I can go ahead and put these guys up on here. And that does signal the end of the round. Nobody picked this up, so we're going to turn once. Oh, we're getting close to needing to feed our workers again and checking the temple steps. Blue turning that twice was a speed thing that I'm not sure I totally thought through, shockingly enough. But we're committed to the cause, everybody. We are totally committed. So I'm going to wait to pick up the other worker to get some more wood. The thing that I'm really considering is I need 3 stone and 3 wood in order to get both of these, is my thought. If I put one worker here and one worker here, and then as this thing turns, will I have enough resources? I mean, I'm saying that because I could get two different things here. This is saying that when I go buy a building, then I'm going to gain a corn for it. But I will probably have 3 wood and 2 stone, so maybe I could get this thing and this thing. Okay, I'm kind of liking where this is going. It is making me nervous to be spending my corn. Am I going to have enough time to get more corn? I don't know. But let's spend the 3 corn. Oh, spending 3 corn is going to have me place my workers, but I'm going to need a 4th corn. Ugh, this is making me nervous. We're going to do it anyway. I'm spending 4 corn, so get one here, to place 2 workers, so that will be 0 corn plus 3 corn plus 1 corn because I'm placing 2 workers. So red needs to pick somebody up, but I have to be aware and careful with my corn. I didn't think this through clearly enough. What was my plan? My plan was I was going to try to advance this way and exchange. I was trying to keep those guys there, but then I'd have to take this guy off, and I don't want to take that one off. I'm kind of mad at myself. I really didn't think this one through, did I? It was a mistake. It was a mistake. Here's what we'll do. I think I'll keep this thing here. Let's build a building. We have a gold, 2 stones, and a wood. So for this building, we're going to make the blue player unhappy accidentally. I mean, the blue player has this whole plan to get this one, but we don't know that. And this is the thing that we can afford. So this is the thing that we are going to get. I don't have any technologies to assist me in this process. So I'm going to pick this thing up for a wood and 2 stones. I didn't think things through very well. But this will be good to have. So I'll go ahead and spend these and then move up the brown track and the green temple tracks. Sometimes you just have to adapt, you know? But really, this was not in my plan. But it's not a bad plan, I suppose. I like that we're up ahead of blue on these 2 tracks here. That seems good because that'll be 10 points altogether for being ahead, plus another 6, plus another 1. Blue player's hurting. I don't know why I'm doing such a bad job for blue right now. It's definitely not intentional. But intentional or not, it is definitely happening. So, sorry blue, we just took away your thing. Alright. Nobody took the first player thing, so we're moving here. 2 more turns until we are mid-game. That's a scary thought. We're going to need some corn. Everyone's going to need some corn. So I do need to keep that in mind, but this turn, man, I don't have, hold on, let's think, because we have this turn and then 1 more turn, and I need to have 6 corn, or else I'm going to be losing points. And it is possible to go negative, like you can have negative points, you just backtrack yourself on the score track. But for each worker you don't feed, you're going to lose 3 points. Crap. And that has to be next turn. In my brain I'm thinking, can I be prepared for this next turn? I'm poised to pick up enough corn right now that's a good and useful thing. I think I'm going to have to change my plans again. I'm changing my plans again. I'm kind of sorry, but I mean sorry not sorry kind of a thing. But I didn't think about how fast that thing was going to come up. Okay, I'm going to not pick this up. What I am going to do is I am going to pick up this one. And I'm going to do that so that I can advance 1 on the technology track over here. So abandoning my hopes. I mean, the red player already crushed those hopes down there anyway, didn't they? So abandoning those hopes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance here. That's going to cost me 2 resources. This means I can collect corn even if I don't see corn on the track that I'm on the green gear. And I get an additional corn if I do I never called it fishing before, but the fishing action, the one over here, that's this space. So basically I could get 4 corn when I'm on this space. So yeah, this is what we're doing. So we're going to take that. Oh my gosh, take that, and I spent these 2 stones to do that. Kind of a waste, but I'm already behind on points. I can't afford to lose more points come feeding time. And red is finding themselves in a tough situation because my crystal skull dude, like this guy, is going to run off the board in 1, 2, 3 turns if I can't get a crystal skull by 3 turns. But I'm also in a situation where I'm going to need or want some corn. So do I place the worker to go get some corn? Or do I place a worker here? Let me think. It'll turn once, twice, and then bump off. Turn once, twice, and then bump off. That's going to be too slow. Why am I doing a poopy job here? I'll tell you why. It's because this game is a huge freaking puzzle and my brain is not... It's working right now. Okay. So, alright. So I need to keep corn in mind. For real, I do. My question is, do I pull this guy off and not get any benefits? Do I just take him away? Or maybe I pull this one off. I could pull that one off to exchange my gold for 4 corn. That will help me because I'm going to need 6 corn to feed my workers. But none of that is going to help me do this thing. I just don't think that I have time. Like, it's going to be, if I place here, I'm going to need 1, 2, 3 turns to get to the crystal skull. But 1, 2, 3 turns is going to bump me off. I won't have the crystal skull in time. So I could just leave this guy here for no reason. There's no way that I can see. I mean, another thought was 1, 2 turns, but I would need 3 turns to utilize, this action where I spend a corn to use any of those actions. But again, it's not enough. So, unfortunately, I think I've messed myself up a little bit. I don't have any immediate plans to use gold, so I think I'll just take this worker back. I can't, there's no way, I planned that too poorly. So I'm going to take this worker back for nothing. And then I'm going to take this worker to go exchange my gold exchanged for 4 corn. Poor planning is what I'm doing today. All right. At least we'll be able to feed our workers, right? Right. Sorry. Sometimes I get in trouble for not strategizing well, but that's what I do best. Not best strategize. All right. But it'll be good to have... I don't even need... It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to have corn. I just realized I only need 4 corn instead of that, but corn is always good. It's always a good, important thing. Nobody took this. We just turned this once. At the end of this, we need to feed our workers and all of that stuff. And we're going to go ahead and place this thing here. We're tipping. It's okay. So, I'm going to stick with my original plan for blue. I think. Am I? I don't know if I am. Okay, well, so I don't have any resources to spend right now to move up the track. Here's the thing is we're mid-game right now. We're scoring the temple stuff. And I'm low on points. Do I move myself up? Here's the way the ties work. Let's say I do move myself here and here. Oh my gosh. Tip over. Okay, if I were to take this action, like I could get wood instead of corn to take this action, and I would move myself up on 2 different tracks. Let's say I move up there. Well, that will help me get 2 points plus 2 is 4. And then we would both be tied for first place here, and all tied players share half of the points. So that would be keeping the red player from getting 4 points and me not getting any. We would both get 2 points. But then I'm not going to have any corn. I'm going to just lose those points because I can't feed my workers because I'm a silly guy. Gosh, okay, so let me put those down before I forget. So my big question is, do I get corn or do I get wood? I haven't really talked about these actions. I apologize. These actions, so remember how I said if you wanted to take an earlier action, you need to pay a corn for each step before that you go? These actions let you take, like if I were here or here, I could take any of these actions without paying the corn. If I were here or here, I could take any of these without paying corn. Here or here, take any of these without paying corn. So this is still going to be an option for me, but I won't have any resources with which to do that. And also I will have passed up the temple. Like if I'm going to do it, I need to do it now. But if I do that now, then I'm not going to be able to feed all of my workers. I'll only be able to feed 2, and I'll lose 6 points, which means that I'm losing 6 points that I basically will have just picked up, because I would get, where would I would, if I do this thing, I would get 4 points from the yellow track, and I would get 3 points there. So I get 7 points, but lose 6 points for not feeding two of my workers. So that's stupid. But would it be stopping the red player? Man, this is why people probably don't want to play with me. Maybe I just need to feed my workers and get a bunch of corn. Yeah, we're gonna do that. And then because of my position on this track here, there's a couple of things to notice. First of all, I'm gonna get 1 more corn than normal, and I can get corn even if I can't see it. So I'm pulling from this space. Normally I would have to burn down the forest, tick off the gods by moving my thing down 1. I could burn down the forest to take corn, but because of where I am on technology, I can get corn without using a corn tile. So I'm taking this to get corn without seeing a corn tile, and I get an extra one, so I'm getting 10 corn. And I don't have a resource, so I can't pull this. I've already spent my resources. Yeah. I'm not loving where I'm going with this either, so if you think I'm a silly goose, you are right. And pretty much the red player is going, and I have spent so much time thinking about blue, I didn't even think about red. I guess at the very least, I need resources. I need everything. I need resources, and I need to work on the crystal skull. Okay, I don't know. Here's what we're doing. I've got to try to get some wood. I'm going to place here, and I'm going to place here, and I'm going to place here. I've got to get that skull earlier rather than later. So this is 0, 0, 1 corn, plus I'm sending 3 workers, so I just spent 4 corn. Don't stress, because I'm going to pick up those 3 corn, so I will still have enough to to feed my workers. So we'll just place these here. I'm struggling to do this single-handedly, but we're doing okay. Then I can plop these up. Okay, and now it is the end of the round. The red player is going to get this, and the start player, and these corns, and I could choose to turn the wheel twice if I wanted to. I'm going to say that I mean, it will help me progress on there, but not worthwhile right now. So I'm just going to go the once, right? Am I doing this right? Hold on. Yeah, I did pay the 1 corn. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so I'm going to turn that once, bring these back. Oh, well, I mean, of course we're going to need to, obviously we're going to need to feed our workers and check the temple score and stuff. I probably shouldn't have rotated right that second. And I want to acknowledge that I did that in a slightly weird order. The rule book is a little complicated on this. This is why I ticked it down 1. But basically, and I should annotate this, at the end of the turn of the person who, like, as soon as, okay, so at the end of the red player's turn, they would pick up the corn, and then at the end of the round, the other 3 things happen. Like, you would take the worker back, exchange hands, and turn the thing. So I should annotate that you do get the corn at the end of the turn. Whether that's mattered or not, I'm not sure, but it's worth specifying. You get the corn at the end of your turn, and then you pick this up, pick that up, and turn the thing at the end of the round. Yada yada. So I just mean I do have the corn to pay my workers now, and then we would need to feed our people and then advance this. So I'm being a little bit sloppy with my timing, and I apologize for that. But we each still only have 3 workers, so but the red player doesn't have to feed one of them, so they're going to spend the 4 corn. So let's get that, sure. And then the blue player is going to need 6 corn to pay their 6 workers. They don't have any coupons. And I am going to score the temple, but just before I forget, I do want to pass this thing down. Okay, so mid-game scoring. This is where the red player wins the game. Basically, the red player is going to get 6 points for being here and 6 points for here, so that's 12. 0 points for this. 1 point for being here and another 4 for here, so that's 5. So 12 plus 5, they just got 17 points. They're at 11, so that's going to put them at 25. Here, I'll just bring it right on over. 25 points for red. Wow. And then blue, this is going to be great. Blue is going to get 0 points for here, 1 point for here, and 0 points for here. Yay, blue! at least this video is instructional because, like, you're learning what not to do with the blue player and what to do with the red player. So it's all good. And super quickly, before I start the red player's turn, the last thing we need to do mid-game is we need to change these things out. So we've been using the Age 1 buildings. We're going to go ahead and clear all of these out. They are no longer available to us. The monuments stay. Nothing happens with those. But these ones are going to come out. And we're going to go ahead and place out some other buildings. And it looks like these have victory points on them. So blue, take heed. Oh, put those the wrong way. Sorry. Okay. All right. We are officially ready to start the new round. It's going to be a good 3 rounds before red can, get their next crystal skull and all of that. And so I kind of need to find a way to keep them a little bit busy. And that could mean one of 3 things. I could go here and pick up some corn with this guy. I could not. I don't want to go there. I said one of 3 things. So my thoughts were I could go here and then pick up corn next round. I could go here and then just pick up corn next round from this one. Or I could go here and start working towards getting a new worker. Yeah, those are kind of my thoughts. But ultimately what I'm going to do is it's going to mean nothing if I have a crystal skull and I'm not pushing myself up this track. So I'm going to go ahead and just play there. That's 0 corn. I'm only placing 1 worker. So that can be the end of the red player's turn. In case you haven't noticed, the blue player only has 1 point. So they need a severe change in strategy. Which basically means 2 things. My first thought is I'm doing pretty well on the technology tracks. I need/want to get these right here. I want these scoring tiles. This scoring tile means that for each technology that you have all the way advanced, if you only have one, like if you have 1 technology all the way advanced, you'll get 9 points, 20, 33, 33. So if I could get even 2 technology advances, that's 20 points. This means for each technology advancement you got, you'll multiply it by 3. So if the game were to end right now and I had this, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 3. That's 18 points. So really, blue's not out of the game. We've got to just be smart. Plus, all of these tiles down here are going to provide points. So I really just need, I need resources. So we're going to take both workers. I'm going to stop being such a didgeridoo, and we're going to get resources as soon as possible. I'm going to try to send these guys over to that spot, especially with my technology. That should be smart. So this is 0. This one is 3, so I got to pay 3 corn plus an additional corn because I'm playing 2 workers. So 4 corn altogether. Let's just make some change. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that I got so excited about this tile that I never picked up a gold because I'm silly. So let me hurry and grab a gold really fast, and I will annotate that for when I pick that up. I was just so excited, I'm sure. Nobody claimed the first player marker, so we will turn this and go ahead and place a corn there. The red player still first, biding our time to get the crystal skull and on the blue gear, which means the 1 worker we're going to go ahead and take off is going to be this one. And I could take it for wood or for corn. We are out. Well, we're getting close to being out of corn. Let's grab this for corn. So I'm going to take this tile. We got 5 corn for it. So we'll take that back. And sure. There we go. Now I need to keep my 2 blue workers where they were, but I have a worker just about to fall off the red gear. So I'm going to take this off, but I need to decide what to do. Couple options. So from here I can take any of these actions without having to pay corn for backtracking. I could advance on these, which will be good if I'm really aiming for either of those tiles, really. But I don't have the resources to do that at this point. I'm going to really need to get my resources going. One way that will help me get my resources going is if I can advance up the temple tracks just a little bit. So I think I'm going to spend that gold that I just picked up that I had forgotten that I have. I think I'm going to spend that gold to move up 2 different temple tracks. And I just want to move up in a way that will help me get those resources. Probably it will be best to move up the brown track. And it would be good to move up the yellow track because that's going to get me stone and gold as soon as we get to the next stickered gear, this one right here. And so, yes, that's what we're going to do. We're pulling this worker off to take this action. I'm going to go spend that gold that I was holding on to. It always sucks spending gold on something you could have spent wood on, but that was just the way that this has worked out. Next round. The red player kind of has one more round of stalling. I realize that my attention is kind of turned to the blue player's strategy, and I'm neglecting yellow a little bit, and I don't mean, or red a little bit, I don't mean to. But there is an opportunity to kind of get a good jump, and I'd like to take it. It's going to cost 2 corn, so let's do this. I'm spending 2 corn to place here, because I'm able to skip the 0 and the 1 spot. So that's feeling at least like I can hop up here and get a whole bunch of corn that will help me feed my workers and blah, 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 blah. Okay, blue can go ahead and I could place a worker. Actually, I will. Oh, yes. I am going to place a worker. And let me show you why. It's going to cost me 4. I'm going to kind of steal the red's plan as well, because I'm going to need wood for anything that I'm going to buy as well. Yes. So I'm going right here, and that's going to cost me these 4 corn. So I'm out of corn on the blue player's side, but I'm about to pick up a couple, so that's good. It was just too tough to pass up, this soiree. Is that a thing? What is this? Is that like a party? I don't care. I don't want to miss this party. But we're ready for the next turn of events. I've got to make sure that I have enough corn. I'm not going to have it. Let's fight that in a second. But at the very least, the red player can pick up their crystal skull. So we're going to grab that and our skull. There we are. Okay. Let's go to the blue player. So remember, the blue player's technology is if I pick up a wood on either the brown or the green gear, I get an extra wood. And if I pick up stone or gold on the tan gear, then I get an extra one of those. So I'm going to pick up this worker, which lets me take any of these actions. I'm going to grab from here. That'll get me 2 corn, 2 stone, and 2 gold. And I'm going to pick up from here. That'll get me 5 wood with this token. So let me see if I can manage to grab these. So we got 3, 4, 5, 2 stone, 2 gold. We're not quite there yet. I mean, I could pick up this guy, but I might as well wait 2 more turns to make sure that I can get the stone and the gold and all that stuff. But look at that. That was good. Yeah. All right. Not too bad. Feeling good about that. What have I got? So I've got 5 wood at this point, 2 stone, 2 gold. Let's go take a quick peek at those monuments, see where that puts us. I have enough wood. I have enough stone. I'm going to really need some gold. I may want to grab a bunch of corn and do some, play there. But I'd also probably like to advance on that technology track before I get corn. So I get a total of 3 extra corn when I take a green gear action. So that's where my mind is at right now. Yes. And so we go ahead and turn the gear. We're flying along now. I basically have 3 more turns before I need to feed my workers. So I'll keep that in my mind. In fact, with that in my mind, I'm struggling. I kind of want to put this on the first player spot, but remember, if you own the first player token, you have to pass it to the person on your left. But it feels like it would be a good idea to get all of these corn here, but I'm going to be getting a bunch of corn. I think on my next turn, I might go pick this guy up when they can get 9 corn. So that's pretty good. I have been talking about picking up an extra worker for red, so maybe I should go here and pay 1 corn to go there. Yeah, let's do that. I don't know that that's the action I'm going to take on the yellow gear, but that yellow gear is useful. So I'm going to hop on there and see what that will do. That'll cost me 1 corn. So we'll put that there. I'll grab 4 singles. Yeah. Those are separate. There we go. I had such a good thought for blue, but it's not quite going to work. Let's take these over. I don't know what I'm doing yet. But the thought that I had was when I was looking last round, when the gear was like this, was to go boom and boom, but not quite where we are now. So I was going to maybe go here Here, I'll put it here. Maybe go here and then work on advancing my technologies, right? So here, so 0 plus 0 plus the 1. Oh no! I don't have any corn. I don't have any corn at all, so I'd have to place one at a time. Now, something that I have not talked about yet is, if you don't have any corn, you can like beg for corn. And the way that works is you would draw up to 3 corn. Like if you have 1 corn, you would pick up 2 more. Or if you had 2 corn, you'd pick up 1 more. If you have 0 corn, you'd get 3. But you'd have to drop yourself on one of the temple tracks. I need to avoid that if I can. And so I'm going to only place 1 worker this turn. So let's just place this one, get him working up here, or, no, yes, no, dang it. Do I place this one? Let's place this one this time. I'm not out anything by waiting 1 more round that I can think of. Yeah, let's just do the first player thing. And then as discussed, at the end of their turn, you grab these, and then at the end of the round, you know, stuff shifts. So we'll bring these back. And remember, the corn is picked up at the end of the turn, so I can't use that corn to place another worker. Okay. But with the round over, we'll put this up here, pick this up, turn the gear. I don't want to turn it twice because I'm very low on corn, but we'll bring this back, and I'll plan on placing probably where I just talked about. And in fact, I guess that's a thing happening now. Oh, do I place where I just talked about? Probably. This guy's ready to be picked up. But I can pick him up. I'll pick him up next turn. Let's get these guys going. So 0 and 0. But I placed 2 workers, so we'll pay this 1 corn. We'll go get that guy next turn. And by then, these guys will be advancing. Yeah, I'm worried about corn. Remember, the red player only needs 4 corn. But it's time to pick up some more, because we're positioned to pick up some more. Let's grab this one, and this will be 9 corn for us. I don't have any technology to make that an extra one. So here, I'm going to make some change really fast. Okay. And do I pick this thing up? To exchange corn for resources. I don't have any immediate plans to get resources. Probably what would be better would be to get my extra worker. I do think I want that. But if I can time it so that I get my extra worker after, no. I don't want to pick up my extra worker before feeding. That'll just make life harder. Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll keep this guy down. It's possible I might use, oh, why am I talking about something you can't see? So sorry, sometimes I don't plan that out. So maybe I'll get an extra worker. This means that you can buy a monument, but you pay 2 corn for each resource instead. So if I have a plethora of corn, which I have some, or pay 1 corn to take any action on the 4 smaller gears. That might be a better idea. It might be a better idea. I don't know. I'm going to leave that guy there because I don't know exactly what I want to do. Alright, at the end of this turn, we need to feed our people. So I think the blue player, we're going to grab this. Remember, my technology over there says when I grab from the blue space, I gain an extra corn. So here, let me just make some quick change. So 4 corn for me. And then I'm going to grab this guy to get 2 gold, 2 stone, and 2 corn. And I am going to grab this guy, and I'll pay a resource. No, what do I need to do? I need to pay 3 resources to move up, right? So here's all the corn. I need to grab my resources and then pay some resources. So I've got all this. If I can, so the monuments are going to need 1 or 2 wood. So if I just pay these 3 wood for my technology advancement, that'll be fine. So we paid the 3 resources to move up. We are corn savvy now. Okay, red. I'm going to place here, because I don't want to take this off yet. I want to push this as far as I can go. I'm going to hold off on this one, in theory, maybe, until it gets here, so that I can use this action to exchange a corn for another crystal skull. I have 1 crystal skull for this thing. I'm going to use the other one for that one. Yeah. Once again, I don't know that this is the right direction, but this is where I'm headed. But that was the end of this era, and so we need to feed our workers, and then we're going to gain resources from the temple tracks. So the red player has 3 workers out, and they only need to feed 2 of them, so they need to pay 4. So I'll go ahead and do that. The blue player needs to pay 6 corn for their workers. It's really biting me in the butt that I never got those buildings, but yep, there we go. We've paid it. And then let's point out, so the red player is going to get 2 stone. Remember, you look at your disc and you take all the resources there or under. So 2 stone for red. This will be good for them to grab some buildings probably. Nothing in the gold department, and then 1 wood. And I think I'm going to have them focus on trying to get this. I need to get 1 gold in order to pick that up. That'll be a good thing to keep in mind. And then the blue player is going to gain 1 stone and 1 gold. So they're 1 gold shy and a couple of wood shy of being able to grab both of those monuments that we are talking about. Okay, we're in the final stretch here. This will be the end of the game. We'll do 1 more temple scoring thing, and that'll be it. So the blue player is going to need wood and the monuments. Like that's my focus. I can get the wood here. I'm almost wondering if I want to wait. No, probably not worthwhile waiting. I was thinking if I waited till this turned a little bit more, I could kind of jump up, but it's going to be the same amount of time. I probably want to put 1 worker here and 1 worker over here to prepare. Maybe I use this. Yeah, that's where I get my monument. I got to do that twice. I have to have time to get wood. Okay, but I don't want to place all 3 workers because then I will be forced to pull them away too early. So I am ready to buy 1 monument now. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use my 3 corn to place like this because I need to get up here once for 1 monument, do it again for the other monument. So that's going to be 2 corn, 0 corn. Next turn I'll position myself to go get more corn, but for now I'm paying those 3. Okay, red is positioned this time to go take a worker off the blue gear. Let me think. If I were to take this worker off, that's 4 points. And if I can wait, do I wait on this one? I do. I'm going to wait on this one. So I'm going to take off this worker. Right? I think so. I'm going to take off this worker to place this skull. I'm not 100% sure that waiting is the right answer for that one. So it's either get 11 or... Okay, hold on. So I'm going to get 13 plus 4 is 17. Or if I were to wait, I would get 7 plus 11 is 18. Okay. So I'm going to place this one here. And I'll wait on that one. This will let me move up the sun track, 11 points, and gain a resource. So right now I'm at 28, so I need to go to 39. Move up the sun track. And I'm picking up a resource. The one that I wanted was a gold. Okay. Oh, and I forgot that one there. And then we rotate that one there. I'm still waiting on my monuments, but I need corn. Good way to go for that is... I mean, I could beg, but I don't... I think I can get away with not begging, because there are 0 spots, and I'm only placing 1 worker. So, yeah, I just got to keep that in mind. Keep the eye on the prize. And then the red player is going to go pull this worker. I'm going to spend a corn to pull this worker to take this action to get a crystal skull. Turn the gear. Oh my gosh, it's looming. It's looming. Okay, for the blue player, I'm going to not take this guy for corn yet. I'm going to keep this guy for the wood for this the second monument that I'm going to pick up over here. But for now, I can afford the 1 monument. Not sure that I kind of feel like I need a contingency almost. Like, I need 1 more. Oh man, I'm going to be 1 gold short. Okay, let me think. So just in case I can't get the other monument, that is something I'm nervous about. As it is right now, this one gets me 20 points. I think it's unlikely I'm going to get to 33. This one gets me 3 plus, that's 6, plus 1, so that's 7 times 3, 21 points. So not a huge difference, but let's take this one because that's a 1 point difference. All right, I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. Let's not pick up that red worker just yet. I want to wait as long as I can, keep getting those points. But in the meantime, I know I wanted to go pick up... Okay, so I know I want to pick up a building. So let's get ready for that. And I haven't figured out what else I want to do necessarily, but I see a pretty good jump ahead moment. So it'll cost 3 coin to go to the place of that 3 corn, plus I'm placing my second worker, so I'll pay another corn over here. So 4 corn to go here. Put this one back up. Oops, I just bumped that. I think, no, we're good. Turn the gear. Add this down. I need to stall at least one more round for the blue player, so let's go claim the first player corn. I think it's going to end, like that will end up passing it, or do I just go up here? Like that would end up giving the first player marker to the red player. I guess this will be okay, because I could wait to place here. Yeah, let's do this. So at the end of their turn, we're going to get this. At the end of the round, the first player marker passes to red. You might be seeing, as always in this whole video, better things that I could be doing, but that's what I'm choosing to do. Let's have red go pick up corn. I think let's have him pick up corn. I could pick up wood, but if I need to, I can use the yellow gear to transform these 7 corn into something else, or I can just have them ready to go for feeding day, or use it to do some good, powerful actions here near the end. I'm struggling. Oh my gosh, come on. And the blue player did pick this up, but they can't turn it twice anymore, and they don't want to, so no corn gets placed this turn. We're here. Oh, I forgot to grab. Here's the worker, and we need to pass this down to red, so even though I picked up the first player token, I already had it, so it needs to pass to the left. And I think our red player is ready to go get their buildings. But I'll annotate that. I forgot to grab this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and buy a building. The one that I want uses these 4 resources. So I'll just go ahead and pay those. And I'm buying this one here. That'll be 3 points. Plus I'm moving up each of the tracks. So up, up, up. It would be huge if we could pass blue on this track. And we probably can because blue's being dumb. But before I forget, let's go ahead and flip that one over, and we've got some points at the end of the game there. All right, blue. We're going to pick up this wood, and that will get us 3 wood. 1, 2, sorry, it's off camera. 1, 2, oh my gosh, 1, 2. Oh, I've dropped the same wood several times. Okay, so we've got 3 wood, and then I'm picking up this guy to get this monument, and I'm paying, wait, did I? Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Okay, so this one was 2, 1, and 3. Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot that I don't have a 3rd gold. Crap. I forgot about that gold. Dang it. Okay, let's go put these back. Gosh dang it, I forgot about that. I need that. How do I get that? I need a gold. I need a gold. I'm going to hurry and put this guy back too as I'm thinking about this. I'm going to have to do that last turn, huh? Okay, can I get a gold? I need a gold. How do I get a gold? With 1 worker to put down, where do I get a gold? The gears are going to turn 1 more time. That's the end of the game. If I place the worker here, that's not going to get me the gold. If I place my worker here, that's not going to get me the gold. If I place my worker here, that's not going to get me the gold. Oh my gosh, you guys. I know how to do it. I know how to do it. I think. I know how to do it. I'm going to take the worker. I wish I could go here, but I can't. So I need to pay a corn. I'm going to be out of corn, unable to feed my people. That's going to hurt. That's probably going to be the difference, honestly, between winning and losing, maybe. But yeah, so we're paying a corn for this. And we're going to have to pay another corn because this is going to rotate and backtrack one. But what I'm doing is I can advance one on a technology track, which will allow me to pay a resource and get 2 resources. And then I'm going to have to backtrack on this one as well. So I'm pretty much paying my corn. I'm going to end up losing 3 points per unfed worker. I'm going to be losing 9 points, but gaining 20. So probably worth it. Whatever. We're in it to win it at this point, right? Yes. So we are turning, and we are on the very last round. The only thing the red player is going to do is pull this worker. Remember, my technology allows me to place... Oops, I should have grabbed my crystal skull. I get to place 1 higher. That will move me up the sun track and get 10 points. So sun track, 10 points, puts me at 49. That puts them up ahead. Yeah, red's gonna win this one really good. But blue's gonna go down fighting. We're gonna pull all of our workers, and the order we do matters. I'm gonna start here to take this tile and 4 wood, because I have my extra wood from over there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to pull off of this tile, right? No, I'm pulling off of this tile, and I'm paying a corn to take an action before it, which will let me advance up that track. And advancing up this track costs a resource to get 2 resources. I don't think that it matters which one or ones we go for. We have an extra stone and a bunch of extra wood, so let's go ahead and I will pay this wood to get 2 gold. And then I have to pay another corn to backtrack this way. Yeah, I really killed myself on feeding, but backtrack this way to get another monument, and that cost 3 gold, 1 stone, and 1 wood. And I'll bring that worker back. Oh, and I need to pay the corn. So now we need to go ahead and feed all of our workers. I can't feed any of mine, so I lose 3 points per worker that I can't feed, so I just lost 9 points. We'll just backtrack this way, because you can go negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh man, red. I mean, I have my theories, but red just killed it and blue did terribly, and I have no excuse other than still learning strategies. So the red player needs to pay only 4 corn, so we'll pay this to get that. And then while we're here, and before I forget, let's give red their 3 points for this one. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go ahead and score the temples. So hold on, let's back the camera up. So the red player gets 7 for this and 2 for being on top, so that's an additional 9, so from 52 to 61. And then they get 4 for this, plus this is embarrassing, plus 6 for being on top, so that's 10. So 71, plus 3 for this and 4 for being on top, so 78. But then the blue player, oh, you watch out, red. The blue player is going to score for these. So, as I mentioned before, the first here, this one, this monument is 3 points per advanced level. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 3 is 21 points. Plus this for each completed level is 2 completed levels, so that's 20 points. So 41 points. I don't know how to get this to where my brain can handle it. So let's go 10 points, puts me at 2 points. Yeah. And then after that, I need 31 more points, and so we get up to 33. There. And then one final part of final scoring that I haven't talked about is just converting your resources to points. It'll get blue maybe a couple more points, but not really. But we're going to take our resources, convert them to corn, and then for every 4 corn, that's a point. And then crystal skulls would be 3 points, and we just barely scored our monuments. So the red player didn't have any extra resources. The blue player would get, let's see, so this would be 4 corn, so that's a point, but let's get there in a second. Okay, so 4 plus 9 is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 corn, which would convert into 4 points altogether. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there it is, 37 to 78. Not good, not great. Not even close. But like I said before, use blue as an example of what not to do, and use red as an example of what to do. And I'm not saying that this is the only viable strategy. I just really messed up on blue's scoring on that midway point game. Like, I really should have been ahead on worthwhile tracks, or I should have done better on that scoring there, where I think I only got 1 point. Like, I think that was the only 1 point. So I guess I'm trying different strategies. I've played this game 1.5 times before recording, so you're still in the learn strategy mode from my brain. But I guess what I want to say is temple, you got to work on your temples no matter how you're doing it, whether you're doing that here or whether you're doing that in these tiles down, whatever you're doing, you got to get those temples up. So anyway, that was Tzolk'in. It's been what did I say, 6 or 7 years since this game came out, and I finally got to try it out. I really like I mean, it is a tough puzzle, but it's a fun one, and getting the timing right, and the it's just like, even just, it's just fascinating how in some aspects going first is good because you get your choice of place, but in other aspects, like if the red player goes first, then the blue player can really jump ahead on stuff. So like, that's a really cool thing where player order has pros and cons. Obviously, I love the gear. I love that puzzle of deciding how to leave things on and how long to leave them on. Oops, I just bumped the camera. And when I say how to leave them on, like, you've got to plan to have a worker off or have a worker you can take away. Like, you have to be able to place workers or take them away if you want to leave somebody on a gear for long. Red player could have done better. Like, they would have had even more points if I didn't mess up. They got booted over here. Remember that? That was not good. Getting workers, man, that is such a... It's like, most worker placement games, that's the first thing you do is get more workers. But corn is so essential. Like, if there was a different resource to feed your workers, sure, get your workers. But this was, you need corn to place stuff out. Like, that's the thing. Oh, and in fact, the red player has 8 corn, so they would get 2 more points. Sorry, 1, 2. So they're at 80. So the red player more than doubled the blue player's score. Yeah, anyway, I really like this game. I don't know if this game's going to work with my particular game group. They don't really do resource management that well. They just love thematic stuff, anything huge and thematic, and usually it's like escape rooms these days, but I like this game a lot, and I'm glad I got it. I like it better than Teotihuacan at this point. That one's fine, and it's a rondel, but there's so much to remember. It's a lot more finicky than this one is, and this one is just like boom, boom, boom. Turns are short. This thing is spinning around faster than you can even imagine, and it's fun. Anyway, I got a lot of footage to go edit, so I'm going to go do that. Thank you guys for watching and being my friends. We'll talk later. Goodbye.